Alright, so in this video, we are going to add some extra effects on our portfolio site. So as you can see right now, it's already the output, and as you may have noticed, there's a fade-in effect as we reload the page. And as I scroll down right now, we will see the services section animation. And moving forward, we will see the animation for our featured work, more specifically the image preview. And then we have the social section heading and social icons. So we also added a simple hover effect for the social links, as you can see right there. So if I hover over the link, it will change into the link's color. So that's pretty cool stuff. And we also added a very simple hover effect for the button right there, as well as over here. And most noticeably, we changed the banner background, as you can see. So that looks pretty. So that's the site that we did earlier in the previous course. And checking out our current site, we don't have much animation effects. So, very simple hover effect is pretty cool stuff. Checking out the social icons, they don't have the hover effects as well. But overall, we have a pretty good looking site, but it's, we want to make it even better. So, it'll be from good to great. So compared to what we have in our final site preview, this one has, lots of pretty cool animations, which in my opinion, will make our site more attractive to visitors. So before we start, we're going to analyze on how exactly are we going to do this. So again, let's reload and preview the final outcome. So here we have the fade-in effect for the banner. And as we scroll down, the animation is triggered for our services section and for our featured work image and the social links. In order to achieve this, we need a script to listen to Windows scroll events. So, and then inside the event, we will check if a certain element is visible inside the browser area. And to help us achieve that, we're going to use a third-party Jquery plugin. So, and that is the Jquery visible plugin. A Jquery plugin which allows us to quickly check if an element is within the browser's visual viewport, regardless of the scroll position. So that is basically what the plugin does, as it says right there on GitHub. And looking at our site, initially these elements are not visible from the browser viewport, so they can't be seen when you first visit the site. Now as we scroll the browser, of course from the top, the element will now be visible from the browser viewport, and then we add the animation for each of the elements. So once again, let's try to preview the effect and how it works, just like that. And in this view, the services section is currently invisible from the browser. And if we scroll down again, the services section will be visible, thus animating the content. There you go. So basically, the Jquery visible plugin gives us the ability to check whether an element is visible in the viewport. A very simple but, pretty effective tool. Now let's check the rest of the elements and their animations. The featured work image animated as it became visible. And there we have our social links section. It animated as well. So now let's open up our portfolio theme and get to work. So yeah, first things first, we need to download the Jquery visible plugin. You can download, it says right there in the bottom right side. I don't need to do that because I already downloaded it here. So copy the Jquery visible min.js from the plugin and paste it over to your JS or JavaScript folder right there. Copy, paste. So now we have the JS plugin inside of the folder. So let's go back to our code and install the plugin. So open up the functions.php file and find the enqueue script section where all our scripts are registered and enqueued. Okay, so that's the enqueue scripts section. Scrolling down, trying to find it. I think it's over here. There you go. So basically, we just need to copy this script and change some text. Change the handle. And the URL. So after registering the script, let's not forget about enqueuing it. So that's very important for it to work. Right there, enqueued. So let's check if the site loaded the script. Let's check it out. Inspecting element to see if, you know, the changes we made can be seen. We need to make sure that it's properly registered, you know, just to prevent errors later. Just, you know, it'll make our life much easier. Scrolling through the code. I guess it's not in the footer area. Let's check over here. It's not in the head area as well. Okay. The search goes on. So let's check the code again. Maybe we made some mistakes. As the saying goes, you know, programmers are just human. Oh, you know what? I think I just forgot to reload the page. There you go. Silly me, you know. Hashtag programming problems. Alright, so I reloaded the page and there we're able to see it. Now we're gonna find out what elements are to be animated. So first we have the banner. So I'm inspecting element of the banner. So more specifically, this section right here. Okay, the one that's div class call-md-8. Back in our code, we will add a new class, so we could target that element later. Open up header.php file. Going through the code again. And this should be the element we want to animate. You know, it contains all the included elements. Right there. So now let's add the hero class. Like I said earlier, we'll be adding a new class. And there we have our hero class added. Just reload and you'll see the changes right away. Next, we will be doing the services section. So now I'm inspecting the element for this part right here. So this right here, you know, specifically the 3 elements. We're just going to add a new class as well, which is services-item to each element. So back in the code, open up frontpage.php. Right here, we're going to add the services-item. So all 3 of the elements, I'm adding that class right there. So hit save and reload. And there you have it. You can see the added class that we put there. So moving on to the featured work section. All right, inspecting element. Okay, seeing which part we need to target. So this element right here is the image source. So if you want, you can also include this element in your animation, like sliding it from left to right and this one from right to left. So we're just gonna add the classes for both. So head on back to the lab or the text editor on frontpage.php file. I'm just gonna locate the elements that we inspected. So here it is, the work info container. I'm gonna add it right here. And the work dash image class, I'm gonna add right here. There you go. And then hit save and reload once again. So there you have it. Here are the elements with the added class that we just did. So perfect. So now moving on to our social links section. So now again, going back to inspector gadget mode. Okay, so heading for each social links over here. Alright, so now we know what to target, but first we're going to add an animation for our banner before I move on to the social section. So go back to your text editor and open up my-style.css. Okay, that's my-style.css. Oh yeah, and before I forget, we only want to add the animation for desktop devices because, you know, some effects may not look good on mobile, especially the other mobile browsers don't support animation. So, you know, just to be on the safe side, it's best to leave out mobile animations. To do that, we'll need to add the CSS code into the desktop media query. So this so it's right this part right here, meaning this will only affect desktop devices. So just making a comment, animations, calling the hero class, adding that right here, opacity to 0, animation, and then adding that right there, hero keyframes 2 seconds, and make sure it ease forwards. Adding all the other necessary codes. Just feel free to follow along, you know, and just pause if you need to. Okay, adding this right here. Okay, so keyframes and the hero keyframes. So hit save under code and reload the page. So there you go. We have our banner animated on the page load already. So we also need to add an animation delay so that when the page is reloaded, it does not, you know, animate instantly. So back to our code. Now we're going to add the animation dash delay. I'm going to set it to 0.5 seconds and the WebKit. So save that, reload, and there you go. So now we have a slight delay in animation, which you know, makes it look better. So reviewing the code, initially we have the element that's 0 opacity, which means it is invisible. So next we added the animation right here with the hero keyframes animation keyframe. And this keyframe is actually linked from this keyframe block. Now this keyframe block controls the animation of the element, in which we have opacity 1. So starting from opacity 0, we animate the element to go to opacity 1. And we have here its WebKit version. And then we have added the animation delay to add 0.5 seconds before it starts. So now we're going to add the animation for our services section. We will add the animation for each item in the services part. So first, let's go back into our code. And let's just close these tabs that we don't need at the moment and just leave the mystyle.css file. So here we will add the animation, and just like this, the dot services animate, setting the opacity to 0 again. So like I said before, just feel free to follow along as I insert the necessary codes right here, and if it's going too fast, just feel free to pause your video. Okay, looking good. Alright, so almost done with this part. Just adding the services keyframes. So it's pretty similar to the code that we did for the banner, as if you can see right here. Okay, so I'll review this with you guys in a bit as well, so you just get a little explanation of what we're doing right here. Okay, so for now the code we added won't have any effect to our services item element. Okay, so because this code is supposed to be added into our element using Jquery later. So I just added that for now. So as you can see, if you reload the page, you won't see any effects on those elements that we just did. So basically what we're going to do is add this class. There you go. So into our service item elements, if it will be visible while scrolling. So let's open up our scripts.js or scripts.javascript. Then under this part, we can add our script to the animation. So just like that. Okay, looking good. Just to inspect this the element of this service right here to make sure we're doing it right. Okay, so continue with decoding. So I hope you're following along with this part. Make sure you don't miss any letters or any codes. So, just one simple mistake could mess you up later. So just to avoid the frustration, setting this right here. Okay, services animation. That's the, like I said earlier, the class that we coded. So it's actually services animate. Sorry about that. So hit save and then reload the website once again. So there's the animation for the banner, and there you go. We got the animation working on the scroll. Look, as we scroll down, voila. These are all the elements on the services section go up. So once again, there you go. So what the problem is here, we're actually going to reload the page while we have the services section already visible, and as you can see, it still did the animation. So we actually do not want that to happen. We only want the banner to be doing that. So there you go. So it doesn't animate right away. As you can see, it didn't animate when the page loaded. Again, reload the page. So we don't want that here. So if you're going to reload the page, it triggers the animation. Now let's go back into our code and add an additional script that will, take care of this issue. So back in your mystyle.css file, let's add an already visible style. So I'm setting the opacity to 1. I'm just copying the code from above right there. oops, so make sure it's correct spelling. In our scripts .js, let's add a script to add the already visible class. So that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm just going to comment that to make sure you're doing the right part. So this is for the already visible element. So basically what this does is if the page is reloaded, then the target element is already visible. It will add the services visible class so that it would not animate on the page load if it's, if you're already seeing it. So let's check our site and find out if our script works. So reload, banner works, animations work on the services section. Let's reload again while we're here. And there you go. It didn't animate when we reloaded it, so it's doing exactly what we wanted it to be doing. So next part is we're going to add a delay effect for the second and third element in our services section. And as you can see here, we have the subtle delay. So again, if you watch closely, if you can't see any delay, so it's a pretty cool effect. While in our site, we have the elements animating at the same time. So that's, it looks pretty monotonous. So to achieve that, let's go back to our code and make some changes, or make some updates. And here's how you do it. Okay. So let's check it out. We have 1, 2, and 3 elements or services, and what we're going to do here is add a delay for the second and third, which would be the mobile design and photography. Okay, so going back to our code, I'm going to make sure it only affects the second and the third. So for the second, I'm adding an animation delay of 0.2 seconds, copying that code, just changing it to 3, and make sure the animation delay increased by 0.2 seconds. So let's hit save, reload, and check it out. And epic fail, it's not working as of the moment. So let's check out and let's troubleshoot this. I think, yeah, we have a typo. So pretty common mistakes. And just make sure you fix the typo as well if you're following along with my code. And there you go. Now it's working. See, this one letter could mess you up. So basically, we have the animation here. And in our code, we started the element as invisible with opacity 0. Then it started off with the translate Y, which is 150 pixels below. So it would start as if, it rises like smoke. And then we added the animations, which is this part right here, animating to opacity 1, which makes it fade in and returning its original position. Then we add a subtle delay for the second and third element, which is 0.2 and 0.4 seconds. And this services visible, which prevents the animation in our scripts.js file. So we just created a variable for the window object and services item element. And then we have here the already visible script to prevent the animation. And once again, if the page is reloaded and the element is already visible, then we add the services visible class. Okay, and for the window scroll event, when the page is scrolled and if the element will be visible, it adds the services animate class to it, so it would run its animation. And that is basically what we're going to do with the rest of the elements that need to be animated. Okay, so next parts would be the featured work section and the social links. So now that we know how it works, let's proceed to the rest of our animation. So I'm adding work-image-animate right here, and the WebKit. And just like that. So please follow along. Animation delay set to 0.4 seconds. So I'm just checking out the featured work section right there. I'm just copying the code over, but as you can see, from the opacity from 0 I changed it to 1 again, and making the necessary changes as well here in the bottom. Okay. And adding this right here, the keyframes. Alrighty. Okay, now I'm gonna check out the social section, and I think I got it. Okay, so it's the, heading animate, putting the opacity to 0 at first. So transform, translate X. So it looks, if you're just watching this for the first time, it looks pretty complicated, but you know, it's actually, you know, pretty cool, and it's pretty simple if you just follow along with the code and just modify it a bit for different parts of the front page. So as you can see here, just copy pasted that, change the opacity to 1, and make some changes to certain parts of it. Even setting some to none, because we don't need them to ease forward anymore or move. And here I'm adding the keyframes. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm adding for the animations for the social icons. Just reviewing some code to make sure everything is right, and just seeing the format right there. Okay. So more coding for you guys. I hope you're following along okay, and you know, it's pretty much doing the same stuff all over again, but in different areas of the site. So I'm sure if you just keep on doing this, you'll, you know, get the hang of it. Okay. Adding more codes. So I'm just counting how many icons we have there. So we have 5 social icons, and I'm going to add some animation delays to each one of them. So that's for the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. And as you can see, I increased the animation delay by 0.2 seconds for each one. So it started out as 0.2, and then 0.4, 0.6, and 0.8. So that it's shows up looking cool, and you know, in that order. So I'm just need to inspect the element of this featured image right there and make the necessary changes. Also for this part right here, let me see. So it was the heading variable. I'm going to target. Okay. And now for the social icons. Copying this code right here and just making some changes. It's the social icons home. As you can see when we inspected the element, that's the class that's going to be affected. Okay, so more updates to the code. So this right here is affecting each of the social icons that we have. Okay. There's a lot of copying and pasting code, but just a little modifications to each one. So we do not have to keep, repeating the same codes all over again. Simply just copy paste and make some changes, and it's gonna work just fine. So let's hit save on that, and let's check our site if it works the way we want it to. So that looks good. Ooh, there you go. And that looks cool as well. So let's check for already visible script. It did not animate, which is what we wanted it to be like, and that looks cool. So the next part is we're going to add a simple button hover effect. So right now, if you hover over the buttons on the site, it just stays the same, but we want it to be like that right there. So how we're going to do that, I'm going to show you. Okay, so back into our text editor. Now we don't need to restrict this effect on mobile devices, so we will just add this outside our media query. So like earlier, we just did it for desktops. Now we could have this for mobile as well, since it doesn't have any drawbacks. So I'm gonna call this button primary animate, or actually button animate primary. Sorry about that. So I set the transition all to 0.2 seconds, and it's gonna ease in and out. And when I hover, it's gonna be that color. Like that. I'm going to inspect the element first, so I know what to set for the background color when it hovers. So it needs to be that right there. I just copied and pasted that color scheme, and there you go. So open up our header.php and add the animation class into our button. Just like that. Button animate primary. So reload, and there you go. So for this next one, I'm gonna check out the sample that we did. So just copy again, paste, make some changes. Inspecting element. Let's see. So yeah, that color is what we want. So open up our front page.php and add the corresponding class on our button. button dash animate dash black and hit save and reload. So that looks good. That looks awesome. And there you have it. So now we're gonna change the background image for the banner. Once again, head back to your code and go to mystyle.css file. We're just gonna change the file for the background. So right now it says the banner.jpg, and here I already have the banner that will replace our current banner. It's called banner2.jpg. So let's just copy this over to our theme folder so it will show up when we call it. There you go. So banner 1 and banner 2. So we just need to add 2 right there. Hit save, reload, and there you go. Simple as that. So let's deal with this red background for our menu because it does not look appealing at all. Just need to inspect it first to know where I'm going to make the changes. So this element that has the red background right here, we will simply just need to make the background transparent, so it's gonna show the banner that we just uploaded. So now let's do that in our CSS file and the navbar default class. Hit save, then check the site, and there you have it. So next, we're gonna add the hover effects for the social links. So, you know, currently it's just nothing. When you hover over it, nothing happens. You know, compared to what we have in the final site, looks pretty cool. So when I hover, the color changes and the icon sort of pops up. So let's go back to our code and I'll show you how to do it. Okay. So add that code right there. Okay, just like that. Just reload and you can see the changes in the hover or in the background color already when you hover. We're gonna add the other effect, which is the popping of the icons. You know, it sort of zooms in or pops up, so it adds more awesomeness to it. So just adding the needed codes right here. So once again, just follow along. Reload. So what we're actually doing is scaling it. See right there? As you can see, not only does the color change, but the icon sort of gets bigger as you hover over it. I think that was a little too big. I'll just set it to 1.5. Let's see. Reload. There you go. Looks way better. Just a little more smaller. So from 1.5, I set it to 1.3. And I think there you go. I think that's perfecto. Okay, so I think we're all set with the animations and all the necessary changes. See, that's all the animations and the buttons when you hover. And we changed the banner background right there. We made the red background on the navigation transparent. But there's something I want to point out. And, you know, we have the forms perfectly styled right here on the contact page. But if we're going to view this page in Firefox, in Mozilla Firefox, with the same URL. I'm just gonna show you right here. So as you can see, the placeholder are not showing up. So, you know, we're gonna dissect what exactly is happening. And if you're a Mozilla Firefox user, maybe you have seen this from earlier lessons. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fix this before we end this tutorial. So going back into our code, we need to find the form control class, which is the class for the form elements. So it's right here. It's in the mystyle.css file. So let's check the element and see if we have the right class. So right click, inspect element, and it should be, let's see, yeah, okay, we got the right class, so that's good. So let's go back and just do a little modification on the code. And let's preview the site in Firefox now. And there you go. Inspecting the element. And here we have the padding. So it's actually the padding covers the placeholder. So to fix that, we just need to add a height. So adding that right here, height to 100%. And there, as you can see, the text is now visible from the form. Now let's just adjust the padding here to find out what is the best value. Okay, so let's just add that into our CSS to take effect. So padding to 13 pixels and adding the height of 100%. So hit save and reload. And there we have it. The placeholders are now showing as needed, and let's check it out on Chrome. And okay, so it's looking good in both browsers. So for Firefox users, there should be no more problems. And that's pretty much it. We have added all the cool animations and made all the necessary changes. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. So cheers.